The alarm tore through the ship before I even opened my eyes, and I knew from the pitch alone that this was not a drill. My name is Mara Doyle, and I was the only human aboard the salvage ship Threnodi's Kiss. 6 alien crew members, 1 small ship, and 1 very hungry baby dragon, curled against my ribs when the alarm went off. Her name was Sushgrel, and she was shaking. I grabbed her with one arm and pulled myself into the corridor with the other, my bare feet slipping on the cold metal floor. Red light pulsed from every panel. The ship groaned like something alive that was in pain. Ithuan met me halfway down the corridor, her eyes wide, her voice sharp and fast. "Debris field," she said. "We flew into a debris field. The outer hull is breached on deck 3. We are losing air." I did not stop to ask questions. I ran. Sheechkrell clutched to my chest, her small claws digging into my shirt as she trilled in fear. Behind me, I heard Vantrick shouting orders, and the whole ship tilted hard to one side, throwing me into the wall. Pain shot up my shoulder, but I did not let go of her. "Seal doors on deck 3. Vantrick's voice came through the ship's speakers. "Everyone not assigned to repair. Get to the escape pods now." I was not assigned to repair. I was a supply officer, but I did not move toward the pods. Sushgrel was too young to survive a hard landing on an unknown moon, and the pods were built for Velke bodies, not for a human holding a hatchling that could barely fly. I turned instead toward the cargo bay, where the emergency shelter was, a reinforced room, built to withstand a full hull breach. If I could get her there, we had a chance. The ship shook again, harder this time, and a support beam came loose from the ceiling and crashed down only a few steps behind me. I did not look back. I kept running, my lungs burning, the air already growing thin as the ship bled oxygen into the empty dark outside. I reached the cargo bay and slammed my palm against the shelter door. It hissed open, and I threw myself inside just as the lights in the corridor behind me failed completely. The door sealed shut with a heavy metal sound, and for a moment, there was nothing but silence and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Skrell whimpered against my chest. I held her closer and whispered that we were safe now, even though I was not sure that was true. The shelter had a small window, thick and reinforced, looking out into the cargo bay. Through it, I could see sparks flying from a damaged conduit, and I could hear, faintly, the sound of the ship trying to hold itself together. Minutes passed. Maybe 10, maybe 20. Time moves strangely when you are waiting to find out if you are going to survive the next few seconds. Then the ship's speakers crackled to life, and Vantrick's voice came through, tired but steady. "Hull breach sealed, emergency patch holding. All crew report status." One by one the crew checked in. Ithuan, the medic, Osra, the pilot, a quiet Velk named Dothrek. Vantrick himself, last, his voice rough from shouting orders. I pressed the comm panel in the shelter and gave my own report, my voice shaking more than I wanted it to. "Doyle, safe in cargo shelter. Sushgrel is with me. She is frightened but unharmed." There was a pause on the other end, and then Vantrick said something I did not expect. "Good. Stay there until the air scrubbers stabilize. We will come for you." It took another hour before the ship was steady enough for the doors to open again. When Ithuan finally pulled the shelter door open, I stepped out on legs that did not feel entirely like my own, still holding Skrell, who had finally stopped shaking and fallen asleep against my collarbone. That was the night everything on the ship changed, though not in the way you might expect. The debris field had torn through 2 of our supply modules, and when the damage reports came in the next morning, the truth was worse than anyone wanted to say out loud. We had lost most of our food stores. What remained would need to last us until the next supply drop, and that drop was 11 days away. Vantrick called the crew together in the mess hall and laid it out plainly. 1 meal bar per person per day. Water rationed but not critical. No exceptions. No extra portions. Not even for guests. Not even for the small dragon who had imprinted on the only human aboard. I understood the math. I always understood the math. That was my job, keeping track of what we had and what we needed. And the math told me something Vantrick had not said out loud, because he did not know it yet. Skrell was still a hatchling. Her body needed fuel every 6 hours to keep growing, and if she did not get it, her growth would not simply pause. It would break. I had read the one paper on her species that existed in our database, buried deep in an old research file recovered from a derelict ship years ago. Stunted dragons did not stay small and safe. Their hearts grew unevenly with the rest of their bodies, and most of them did not survive to adulthood. One meal bar was not enough to feed both of us. It was, if I measured it carefully, almost exactly enough to feed her. So I gave it to her, all of it. I told myself it was only for one day, that the next supply drop was not so far away, that humans could survive a long time on very little if they had to. I did not tell the crew what I was doing. I told myself there was no reason to worry them over something I could manage on my own. By the 4th day, my hands had started to shake when I worked the supply terminal. By the 6th day, I caught myself swaying at my station, the room tilting slightly, even though the ship was steady. Ethuen found me there, one hand braced against the wall, and she studied me with an expression I had not seen on her before, somewhere between confusion and concern. "You have not been eating," she said. It was not a question. "I eat," I told her. "I had something this morning." She did not believe me, and she was right not to. Vel could sense the change in a human's body when hunger became something more serious, some chemical shift in the air that I did not fully understand and did not have the strength to explain. She said nothing more that day, but I noticed her watching me during the following shifts, her eyes flicking toward my hands, toward my face, toward the ration bar I no longer touched. On the 8th day, she found me sitting on the floor of the cargo bay after my shift ended, Skrell curled warm and heavy in my lap, finally quiet, finally growing the way she was supposed to. My own ration bar sat untouched beside me. I had meant to eat it. I had simply been too tired to remember. Ethuen sat down across from me without a word at first. Then she asked the question I had been avoiding since the shortage began. "Why would you do this for a creature that is not even your own kind?" I looked down at Sea Skrell, at the small ridges along her back, at the way her breathing had finally slowed into something peaceful. "She did not ask to hatch on a ship with barely enough food to go around," I said. "She does not understand rationing, or debris fields, or supply drops. All she understands is that she is hungry, and that I am the one who is supposed to make that stop. I am not doing the math because it makes sense. I am doing it because someone has to, and I am the one who is here." Ethuen did not answer right away. She looked at me for a long moment, then at Sir Skrell, then back at me, and something in her expression shifted, though I could not read exactly what it meant. She stood up and left without another word, and I thought, watching her go, that I had somehow disappointed her. I was wrong. The next morning, my ration came back doubled, with no note and no explanation. I assumed it was a mistake until the same thing happened the following day, and the day after that. Vantrick never mentioned it directly, but I noticed he no longer met my eyes across the mess table the way he used to, as though there was something he was choosing not to say. Osra ran a longer scan on me than usual during my next checkup, calling it routine, though we both knew it was not. It was almost 2 weeks later, long after the supply drop had finally arrived and the crisis had passed, that I learned the truth from Dothrek, who mentioned it so casually that I almost missed it entirely. Vantrick had quietly instructed the crew to redirect a small portion of their own rations to mine, without telling me, because he had decided, without asking anyone's permission, that the human who had nearly starved herself for a hatchling that was not even her own species was not going to keep doing that while he was in command. I did not know what to say when I heard that. I still do not fully know what to say about it now. Skrell is bigger these days, closer to my own size, though her wings are still too small for the body they are meant to carry someday. She still curls against my shoulder when the ship runs quiet at night, and sometimes I catch Ethune watching the two of us with that same unreadable expression from all those weeks ago, though I understand it better now. It is not confusion anymore. It is something closer to respect. There was a briefing document, early in my training, that warned incoming crews about working with humans. It said we were unpredictable, sentimental, prone to sacrificing more than we should for those we felt responsible for. It told them to watch us carefully. They were not wrong to write that warning, and if the same night came again, the same alarm, the same shortage, the same hungry hatchling shaking against my chest, I would not do anything differently. I would do it again tomorrow, without a moment of hesitation,